So let's get into creating objects, and to do that we're going to talk about the this reference. Let's look at that employee class a little bit and talk about what it's doing. This is the employee class. I have a lot of attributes here. I have employee number, employee last name, employee first name, address, social, phone number, employee start, employee pay rate, tenure, is married, has children. What you will notice in this particular class is I actually have created a bunch of different constructors. In fact, we have 5 different constructors created. So these are overloaded constructors, each with a different parameter list. As mentioned in a previous video, that means when we pass in a constructor with a different parameter, it's going to find the right constructor, the right method to build this object, and it's going to use those to handle things correctly. What you will see within this framework is the keyword this. What this means is, for example, let's look at this overloaded method here. Actually, we'll look at this one here. When I pass in the word tenure, that variable is the same as the variable that we have declared as the instance variable, private double tenure. And because it's the same, I need Java to know that I'm taking this passed argument and I'm assigning that argument to the instance variable. So the keyword this says this object uses this object's attribute, tenure, is going to be passed the value that's coming into the method. And that's what you see here. This particular tenure is referring to this tenure here, and tenure is passed into the instance attribute tenure by using the keyword this. It identifies the difference between these two arguments, or two parameters that effectively, or I'll say this better, these two variables that effectively have the same name but different spaces in memory. But there's another use of the keyword this. What you'll see here for this employee constructor is it actually has 4 pass parameters, but I'm using the keyword this to call a different constructor. I'm saying because I've already created a constructor with employee pay rate and has children, that's right here, this EPR and has children. In fact, I can make this employee pay rate and it would still work the same way, But since I'm making this, since I want to just redact the number of times I type in the same lines of code, these lines of code here, I don't want to duplicate those lines of code. I can use the keyword this to call a smaller constructor within a larger constructor. So this has 2 uses in Java. The keyword this has 2 uses in Java. And let me show you how that looks. I have a pay calculations method. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and compile that employee method, right, which is somewhere in here, I'm sure. There it is. This employee pay rate equals EPR. Let me fix that because I changed the name of pay rate. So I'm going to change this to employee pay rate like that. There it is. Save that, and we're going to run it again, and you can see that it compiles no problem. So I have this particular class called pay calculations that you've seen before, and in this class I am creating new employees with calling different constructors. And for example, I have a new employee here with no constructors, using no parameters, using the default constructor. I have one that uses 1 pass parameter of true, which is 1 Boolean. I have another that has a integer and a Boolean. I have another default, and I have another that has a string, a double, and 2 Booleans. If you come here to employee, you can see that every one of these constructors is being used. This is that string that double into booleans. This is that, in this case, this int value here will come in as a double, and it will be passed into this particular employee has children method. But let's look at how that looks. I'm going to go ahead and run pay calculations now, and you will see how it takes care of that. I didn't save my file again. All right, let's do that this time. And I'm going to go ahead and run that file again, and you will see it work. So now we have this. I have a pop-up menu, we'll talk about that in a second, that says this, and then the rest of the code runs, and you can see what's happening. Okay, so a couple of things to note about this. One of the things is here. You can see that I say the employee number is 3333 and the pay rate is 555.55, right? I'm going to go up here and look at this again. This is employee number 1500, 1501, 15002. All right, we're gonna review this in a second. I think I know why this is running a little differently than I expected. But what I will tell you is this: even though the employee, notice the employee number here says 3333, but the employee number here has not changed. That is because if you come to employee, this particular method here, let's scroll down, is using local variables. And as stated in a previous video, if I use local variables, the actual class, this is the scope of this variable is within this block. So the actual instance variable is not changed. So make sure when you're passing in parameters that you're using the keyword this effectively, that you're not using local variables when you don't need to be. And yeah, so for right now, that's what the keyword this is used for.